Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with KeKe, Life, Love, and all that other shit. I am your host, Kiki Chanel, award-winning author, lifestyle blogger, certified life coach, and owner of 19 Lifestyle Magazine. We are all in Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I have a very special guest with me today. You guys have been rocking with the show for so long, so you already know how I do. I like to give my guests the opportunity to introduce themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to her. Hey, lovely. Thank you for coming to kick with me today. Tell the
Mhm.
people who you are and what you do.
Hi, my name is Prophetess Pastor Yvonne Champion Wright. I'm an ordained pastor, um, prophet. I also have a cleaning business, and I also have a jailhouse ministry, which is called Warriors in Christ Jailhouse Ministry. So I kind of deal with court cases, people on probation, and just offering salvation and some counseling services to people that are incarcerated or just dealing with court cases, dealing with jail.
Absolutely. I love that. So thank you for being here. So
You're
glad that
welcome.
you are here. I love that smile that you always have whenever I do see you. Your brother was on the show a couple of months ago. So shout out to Ace. But so we're
Uh-huh.
going to get into, we're going to talk about the topic for today is I am enough, right? Because sometimes we can have that negative self-talk that will come in and deter us from our purpose and fulfilling our destiny. So when you hear the phrase I am enough, how does that resonate with you?
Hmm. I'm enough. As I was preparing myself for today, I said, what could I actually talk about? And I just kind of had a flashback, just a snippet of what I had been through. I am a domestic violence survivor, mental and physical abuse, right? And if you don't get to the root of whatever is trying to hinder you or overtake you, it'll make you feel like you're not enough. So it started back years of my life of not feeling like I was enough in relationships, not feeling like I was a good enough person. You know, they always say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but I beg to differ because beauty starts from within. So you can be beautiful on the outside, right? But then you could feel ugly inside. So people were telling me, you're beautiful, your smile, but I felt so ugly because I felt like if I was so pretty, how am I being treated this way? And it wasn't just from men, it was from just people because they would take my niceness for kindness and for weakness, and they would just treat me any kind of way, talk to me any kind of way. And I would never fight back. I would never say anything. I would just let people walk over me. And it carried me into my adulthood and to where I thought it was normal into some
Mm.
capacity. I thought, and I felt like I wasn't enough. I would see people with the new cars and I would be the prophet. I'm prophesying, you're going to get the house. You're going to get the car. And these people are getting it. But I never thought I could get it. I never thought I
Mm.
could get a house. I never thought I could own the land. I never thought I could get another portion of land. I never saw myself. So when you say I am enough, the root of it is feeling like you're not enough. And if you don't deal with not being enough, then you can't get to that you are enough.
Absolutely. Listen, that right there speaks volumes. It's the root that has to be cut off to destroy the cycle, the yoke, and all of that. And so let's talk about the power of mindset when it comes to having that I am enough mentality because it all starts in the mind, right? If we
Yes,
don't if we don't have that mindset of I am enough, I deserve this, I am not about to put myself in a situation to have this happen to me and things like that because when you want better, you tend to think better and then you get better. So let's talk
right.
about the power of mindset. How important is the way that you think?
Mhm. It's very
Pivotal.
important. It's very
Hmm.
important. The Bible says this, so shall a man think, and so is he. Well, I'm gonna
Mhm.
tell you how that's important because if I keep thinking, I'm trying not to, because I feel the presence of God. Because
Yeah.
y'all,
Go
I'm
ahead.
living this. I'm living this because my mindset was poverty. Can I talk about that?
Talk
And
about it.
people don't want to. I was on food stamps. I was on Section 8, and I'm not knocking it. At that time, I needed it. But what happened was my mindset didn't change. So I stayed in it longer than what I should have because my mind didn't shift. I became mediocre. I
Mhm.
became like, this is it. I'm going to get this on this certain amount of month. Or with Section 8, it's designed for you not to go forward. Oh God, it's
Yes.
designed that if you make too much money, then guess what? I'm gonna get kicked off. So now I can't even start the business. I can't even make more money because if I make too much more money, it stagnates me with food stamps. If I make too much money, you understand what I'm saying?
They
I'm
gonna
gonna
cut
get
them.
cut off. But my mindset didn't change. Girl, you can make more money off of this assistance and you can buy your own food. Come on. You worried about paying rent. I'm trying to get you to own. I'm trying to get you to own the house. I'm trying to get you to own the land. But because my mind did not shift, oh, Ramashe, at the age of 50, 49, I didn't become an owner to this late in stage because my mind all these years, and it goes back to I'm enough. I didn't think I was enough. And because I didn't think I was enough, I saw everybody else get it, but I didn't see me. It always originates back. How do you see you? It does not
Mm.
matter how other people perceive you. It does not matter if other people believe that you're beautiful. It does not
Mm.
matter that other people think that you're successful. You will never become that if you don't believe it. So it starts with the mind. I had to think, you know what? I really can buy the land. You know what? I can really start off with one mobile home. Maybe I could start off with two. I could become a landlord. I never saw myself in that capacity because I never believed it because I was surrounded by other people that were talking about. Here's another thing. Let me backtrack. Your mindset changes when you're surrounded by certain people.
Oh.
If I'm surrounded around people that's always saying, yeah, girl, I'm hungry. Me too. Hmm.
Yeah.
Man, I'm struggling to pay my bills. Me too.
Me too.
Nobody's
Mhm.
telling each other, how do we get out of this situation? I thank God for my pastor, my apostle, Wanda Jones, and she's going to do her podcast. But I thank God because when I wanted the Lexus, I always wanted a luxury car. Well, I'm not going to lie. I got approved for one car. It was a Honda. It was an older model Honda. And I was excited. And the man said, well, you got denied, but you got approved for this Lexus. I was like, whoa, I don't know what that is. I never drove one before, right? And my mindset did shift because I was telling everybody, you're going to drive a prestige car. I see you in this car. And I really, and they was getting it. But I
Mhm.
didn't think that I can drive it. But when
Right.
my mindset changed, and my pastor is who you connected to is very important in the
Yes.
mindset changing, right?
Yes.
So I had a
Mhm.
good support system that was saying, go get the Lexus. And I said, me? She said, why not you? I said, well, I don't know. I guess I never really thought about me. So my mind had to shift. And she said, you got to get out of that of your own way and out of your own self to believe that you can really have it. So once I did that, I was like, I got in there. I was like, whoa, I like this feeling. This is luxury. And then when I drove, and then the way I got out the car, people started perceiving you. They started treating you different. Wow,
Yeah.
because we just gonna be real. So he said the people were treating you a certain way because you acted poor. Your
Mhm.
mindset talked it poor. You wasn't
Mhm.
talking up no business level. You weren't
Mhm.
talking at a successful level. You were always talking about you was in debt. Oh
Yes.
God. And how
Mm.
is that edifying God? Majority of
Right.
church people, you hear people, I ain't got. If you ask the whole congregation, who need a financial blessing?
Yeah.
Everybody's hands is lifted up,
Everybody hands
right?
go up.
Everybody. I don't even have to call the altar call. It's
Mhm.
full.
Mhm.
Everybody at the altar call, including me. But my mindset had to change because what's in my hands? It's in my mind, right? But I got to put what's in my mind in my
In
hands
my
in order
hands.
for it to work. That means I
Mm.
got to put it into operation. But if I don't put it in operation and it just stays in my mind, then my mindset hasn't changed. Because your
Right.
mindset will only change if you put work. You got to put it in motion. Or then it's just
Yes.
going to be that thought in your mind and it never comes to pass. You say you wrote several books, but one of them ideas just stayed in your mind, right? How would, if you don't put it on paper, and then if you don't get somebody to publish it, you don't get somebody to edit it, then it just stays in your mind. So I
Absolutely.
just got that just from looking at you.
List and I have 19 books
Wow.
and I'm
Wow.
not finished yet.
Come
But
on.
had I ran from my purpose, because I ran for a long time, I would always use my words to inspire other people, but I didn't know that they were going to inspire me and save my life.
Come on.
So now I do help other people tell their stories and bring it to publication. I spotlight individuals like yourself in my magazine because your stories matter most. I'm not all about the celebrity. I'm about the everyday people who have fought every day to have a better lifestyle for themselves. And a lot of people don't really support because they like who she thinks she is. I'm who God called me to be. You
Come
don't
on.
see the vision that God gave to me. So I'm not worrying about who support, who like, who follow, or none of that. I have to stay vigilant and I have to stay obedient in what God called me to do. And that's why I love this podcast because I get to talk to people like yourself and hear the story, hear about your story and your journey. And so the mindset is always, I think it's a making or breaking point because there is power in words, and we hear that all the time. That is the part of the word. Be careful what you say because it can speak life or death over yourself and those around you. And I like what you said about people started treating you different when you pulled up in a certain type of car. That's not being arrogant or vain or thinking that you're better than somebody. You just got the blessing that God has for you. God didn't put us here to be mediocre.
Come on.
And then when we try to help God out, He just sit back and say, "All right, I'm gonna let you do it. But when you come back, I'm gonna show you how it's supposed to be done. You can't help me out. I don't need no help. Just do what I tell you to do." So I am enough. And let's talk about breaking cycles to help prepare you for the future that God has for you. The mindset of scarcity. We all have been there and we see it every day. Why do you think that we get so stuck in a scarcity mindset, thinking that we're not supposed to be prosperous, that God didn't give us dominion over all things, like He said in His word, but faith without works is dead. So
Yeah.
putting your vision, your purpose to work. What do you think are those things that we can help break the cycles for our future?
I think just making affirmations and declarations daily, just saying I am enough, and then you can bring the word into it. I can do Philippians 4:19. I can do all things through Jesus Christ that strengthen me. Being around positive people, being around people that's going to speak life, being around people that are not haters. Come on, you have to know what's in your circle. You have to know the people that you're surrounded with because you might be telling somebody your ideas and they can steal it, or you might be telling the wrong people your goals, your dreams, and because they think you're going to exceed them, or because they might be scared that, they didn't think of it, then they want to help push your dreams. You have to realize it's your dream. It's your vision. And if you don't push it and if you don't go hard behind it, who else is? You can't
Right?
expect somebody, and I've learned that you can't expect somebody to go hard behind you if you're not going to go hard behind you. Breaking the cycles, meaning a lot of people that started off big, say if they had a repossession, right? Or they might have went through a foreclosure before being successful. I see a lot of millionaires that became very successful, and then somewhere along the way, the job, had a little glitch in it, and then they end up losing some stuff. But it's not how you start; it's how you finish. So I think, with changing cycles, is meaning because my family might have lost the business doesn't mean I'm going to lose the business. Because cousin Bobo might have lost their company doesn't mean I'm going to lose mine. So what you use is breaking the cycle is I would use the negative and what I see somebody else and choose to put positive and then work extra hard so that I and do research whatever I need so that I can take what I'm trying to do to the next level because I don't want to repeat the same cycle. And just because I fail doesn't mean I stay there. I think people end up repeated cycles because when they fall into a financial difficulties or anything that happens, they kind of just stay and don't pick it back up. No, if the book wasn't successful, hey, this time around it's going to be successful. That's
Mhm.
the affirmations. You steady speaking positive. We're not going to have repeated cycles. We're not going to go through another failed book. This book right here is going to succeed. This business is going to succeed. So I just think we should look at the positive in everything that we do. And even you could take the negative, excuse me, and turn the negative into a positive by not repeating the same cycle. And what somebody else failed doesn't mean you're going to fail. And I
Absolutely.
think a lot of people, they fail because they looking at, well, I'm scared because they fail. Well, just because they fail don't mean your business is going to fail.
Right. Absolutely. And you have to think more of
Excuse me.
yourself. You watch and see what they did, and then you don't do that. But you
That's
have to
it.
make sure that you're in alignment with God first and foremost. Because I'm a woman of faith. I love God. I don't know who y'all believe to, pray to, and all that, who listening, but I love God and I take God everywhere I go. Always have and always will. And if that keeps me from getting to where I need to be at a certain time, I just look at it as that's God's timing is always right on time. And I don't look at what somebody else has and want that. I want what God has for me. I don't want what he has for Pastor Yvonne, and I'm pretty sure that she don't want what God has for me, because you never know what you had to go through, what that person had to go through, and people glamorize when they have that success that they can show out loud and boast about. They don't tell you about the nights that they didn't go to sleep. They don't tell you about the nights that they were hungry and didn't have food to eat, or working in the dark because the lights were turned out and they had to use candles. You don't hear about that. Most people don't want to share about that because why? People don't want to hear about the struggles. They want to hear about the success.
Yes.
So we have to make sure that we are constantly in a mindset of breaking cycles that are not serving us to the best of our ability or our capacity for growing and having that attitude of gratitude and be thankful for the things that we have, because a lot of people have all the things that they need and still not feel like that's enough. Why do you believe that people just always want something else and not really focus or appreciate the things that they have already?
Wow. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good right there. A lot of people, you know, like I said, the mindset. It goes back to the mindset. It goes back to, and then your circle, right? So a lot of people complain. And till I sit here and say, God, did God wake you up? It's what you make out of the day. Okay.
Hmm.
So either I choose to make my day successful and prosperous, or do I
Hmm.
choose to throw a pity party? Right? We got to get
Hmm.
away from pity parties. We got to get away from, oh, it's me. I'm going through. Yes, everybody could probably use a little bit more money, but I'm not going to stay in that place. I'm going to thank God that I have a roof over my head because somebody is in worse shape than me.
Hmm.
I kind of walked my property yesterday after getting it cut, and I was like, wow, this is nice. And I said, wow, somebody doesn't have that. I remember, I had to be thankful. God said, be appreciative. He said, if you be faithful over a few, he'll make you rule over many. Well, many of us can't get to the rule over many because we're not, it starts with what you just said. We're not thankful of the little bit. But we expect
Hmm.
God to do all this big major things. If you're in an apartment, if you're in a studio, are you thankful for what you have? Do you fix that studio up as if though you're in a big mansion? Do you
Right.
fix that, your little porch up as if though you got this big old beach house? Are you a good steward of what God has gave you, given to you? And so when you do that and you're grateful, you're telling God that you appreciate him. That opens up a whole door for new opportunities, for God to bless you, because then he says, I can trust you now with the little bit you got, not by complaining. Because he doesn't want us to complain. He wants us to be, happy and make us say that I am more enough. I am a spouse abuse advocate for Southeastern Spouse Abuse. I did forget to tell you that we are
Okay.
in Domestic Violence Month. And I believe the mental is more so, even though the physical shows the scars, but the mental is a almost an everlasting impact. A person
Right.
can always remember what somebody has said to them. And it
Mhm.
causes them to make them feel like they're not enough. And even though the abuse might happen 20 years ago, it
Mhm.
still affects some people today. And you have to let that go, learn from your past and use it, not to break cycles. We could tie that in right there, not to
Mhm.
break the cycle. Because if you don't deal with pain and trauma, guess what? You bring it into another, and then you begin to get into another relationship, and then you'll feel like you're not even good enough to even be with this person. The person can tell you're pretty, you're smart, you're successful, but if you don't believe that you're good enough, or you don't believe that you are enough, they're just their words are vanity. They're just empty words, right? So it
Right.
starts with you. You have to make affirmation, and sometimes that helps for people. I am enough. I am beautiful. Sometimes you have to just look yourself in the mirror and just say, you know what? You're beautiful. Not looking for
Mhm.
people to validate. I think we got it twisted. Many people are looking for somebody to say, oh, that's a nice outfit. You put on a
Yeah.
new outfit and you expect somebody to notice your new shirt and or your new hairstyle. Maybe if nobody else noticed, you ought to notice it. You ought to.
Right.
So look at your
Yes.
own self and go, girl, you wearing that shirt, girl, you better wear
Yes.
that shirt, and make yourself whether you small, whether you're medium, whether you're big, whatever skin you're in, you have to learn to love you. Because I see people with the baddest shape and have more self-esteem than I see a bigger person over here. She walking around with confidence. I'm like, whoa, I need that confidence. But it started from within, right? Because
Mhm.
whatever body that she's in, she's comfortable within it, and she's not letting nobody come in. And when a person that's an abuser, when they know they can't tear you down, they don't. But if they know they can break you all the way down, guess what? They're gonna do it. And a lot of
Mhm.
people did it to me, and it's not just men. Sometimes it's people you're surrounded by. Abuse comes
Right.
in all shit. It could come from a mother, it could come from a father, it could come
Mhm.
from a sibling, it could come from your children. Oh yeah. That's a form of abuse when and you can feel like you're not enough. KeKe,
Right.
they do it all the time. I hear people say, oh, my kids, they told me I didn't do this when I was coming up. And you did the best you can as a
You could
mother.
do.
That's a form of abuse to keep telling
Yeah.
a person that over and over and over. Guess what? I cannot do nothing about the past. But what I
Right.
can do now, let's talk about you kind of brain their mindset. What can we do about now? Because what I didn't do back then is not going to help now. I done the
Exactly.
best I could as a mother. I did the best I could as the father. But you can't go. One thing about the past is you can't revisit. If you keep revisiting the past, then you'll never feel like you're good enough. Because that's all he
Absolutely.
wants you to do is to stay in that
And
place,
stuck.
right?
Mhm.
Of stuck. And now I'm hindered. Why am I
Mhm.
hindered? You. We're the hinderers. And we
Yeah.
can't really blame nobody else. I looked around, I said, wait a minute, who's hindering me? You want to blame it on this person, but then sometimes we have to look at the man in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm hindering me because I'm letting my past dictate my future. When your past
Ooh.
was never designed to dictate your future, your past was designed to create you to have a better future and not learn from your mistake and not keep going through repeated cycles.
Absolutely. I love that you say that because I have been around people who always blame their parents for how their lives are. At some point, you have to grow up and realize that your parents did the best that they can do at the
Yes.
time that they can do it because who knows what they had to go through to make sure that you got what you needed to survive.
Come on.
Forget about all that. They sacrifice so that you can be here.
Yes.
They sacrifice so you can be here. Do you know how many people probably didn't make it because their parents were in a mindset of survival mode? And I don't want to bring a child into this world to go through what I went through. But the fact that you're here should say something. Let me go and figure out how, like you said, we can fix now.
Yeah.
Because in the Black community, we don't talk about what happened behind closed doors or with Uncle Bobby and all them kind of people. We don't talk about
Yes.
that. So who
Yes.
knows what happened with mom and
Right.
dad or sister and brother, whoever that is over your life or in your life. You have to understand that staying in a cycle of stuck, you'll never level up to where God has you wants you to be and put it like that because you're always going to be thinking backwards or in the past and you'll never be able to live in the present that should be a catapult for your future.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so I know that you are an overcomer of domestic violence. How has your experience shaped your view on domestic violence and advocacy? Like, why do you
Um,
do the things that you do right now?
just to try to bring awareness, and love doesn't hurt. So love is not, that's the theme for domestic violence. Love doesn't hurt, right? But when you're not healed from past hurt or trust trauma, we women's tend, our men's, because they get abused too, tend to stay in something longer thinking it's normal. You
Hmm.
begin to be in something so long to you start sticking up for the abuser, or you'll tell the abuser, he hit me because I said this to him, or he hit, you'll start making excuses for them, And I try to really talk to young women because it affects the children. And whether when they're young, you think it does not affect them, it does. Because either two ways, either they grow up being the abuser or they grow up abused or taking abuse from somebody. It affects
Hmm.
them in so many ways. They grow up angry. They grow up just seeking, treating women any kind of way because that's what they saw and they think it's okay. And nobody really told them no different because once a mother gets out of domestic violence, she just gets out. So you never really talk about it with the kids. So what I've experienced, a lot of them just grow up angry, a lot of anger issues, a lot of mental issues. It has because that you have to understand from the kids' perspective, they feel helpless. They want, especially boys, they want to be able to help their mother. They want to be able to be the protector, and they feel overwhelmed. They're overpowered because you have somebody that's hitting their mother or tearing her mother down. The words. Um, like I said, that's where I got the I am enough from. The mental abuse will cause the person being abused feel like they're not good enough to go anywhere. Who's going to love me with 3 kids? Who's going to love me with 5 or 6 kids? So you begin to just settle, if that makes sense. You begin to just
Hmm.
settle for less because you don't feel that you're worthy enough to even get anybody that can treat you of value. And so you begin, and then it puts you in a schizophrenic, like a scared you think somebody's after you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Those are the emotional
Paranoid.
triggers.
Yeah.
Paranoia, oh my God. What used to trigger me is I used to hear loud music. And I used to be, I would kind of get scared and nervous. And you really think that that stuff, if you don't begin to deal with it or get God in your life, that stuff will carry you through your adult years later, or if
Hmm.
you're in a relationship, right? And this could be, Mr. Bob could be it. You hear me? I'm in Mr. Bob, treating you like the queen you are. But have you not healed properly, right? You don't, Mr. Bob can't love on you because you ain't loving on you, right? So
Right.
I found that it's called, and this is, you can write this down, it's called trauma triggers. I got that yesterday. You got trauma triggers. So what happens is because the trauma from the abuse, it'll bring forth triggers. So if you're with somebody and he just kind of be like, babe, I think you should have did it. Wait a minute, who you yelling at? And
Yeah.
then they're looking at you like, I'm not yelling. I just said, did you also, oh, now you're trying to tell me what to do? And you're
Yeah.
in a defense mode, not even realizing that you still haven't been delivered from the past trauma. So what it did was it triggered. So any little reminder of anything that you've been through with abuse, it triggers it and you bring it into the next relationship. That's why I tell all men and women, get healed first. Before you
Yeah.
cannot as never jump into another relationship after you done built through abuse. It's just gonna be worse. Because nine
Right.
out of 10, you're gonna pick them with the same attributes because we ignore the signs. With abuse, with domestic violence, the signs are always there.
Yeah.
They're there in the beginning, you've seen what they were doing before you. But of course, we're superwoman. We can change them because I'm the one that's gonna
Right. He'll do
change
it.
them.
He'll do it for me.
He did that to her, but he ain't gonna do that to me. I'm
Right.
different.
Yeah.
I'm the one that's gonna change them. Newsflash, you cannot change no grown person.
Nope. Not at
You,
all.
you, just, you just can't. They've been raised before, and you have to understand they have different values. You might have been raised in a Christian home, they might have been raised in an abusive home, and that has caused them to think it was okay to cause abuse. But either way it go, the true deliverance comes from God, not you. And so I had to realize you cannot play the superwoman, and it leaves an everlasting effect if the children don't get counseling and the help they need. It definitely causes trauma to the kids.
Right.
It does. I've seen it so many times.
Mhm.
I actually counsel
Mhm.
a lot of people with it, and it just it affects the kids in so many different ways. My kids were affected, and
Yeah.
I regret a lot of things. But what I did tell them is, you can't bring my past back. That was then, because they was like, well, mom, why you don't own? Why you just now own this stuff, or why you just now? I said, because I didn't think I was enough.
Right.
I didn't think
Yeah.
I deserved this stuff,
Yeah.
and that's why. Had I knew back then, right? But what I can do is I can help other people not to go down the path that I went. I'm not going to stay, because if I keep reminiscing about what I went through and what this person did and how a person made me feel, I'm never going to be who God want me to be, because I'm stuck in the past. We're in
Right.
the future now. That is
Mhm.
called the past for a reason. And even the
Absolutely. It's
scripture says,
behind you.
forgetting them things which are behind you. And he said, I pressed for a mark of a higher calling, which is in Christ Jesus. So guess what? You don't get to use my past. And they got that bad. People love to bring up people's past. Your past is
Mhm.
to find your future. It's not my
Right.
final destination. Guess what? I don't get to stay there. I'm
Right.
moving forward. Now, if you want to stay there, that's you. But I'm on a whole nother level. Huh? We leveling
Right.
up this season. Huh?
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. So, what is something that you do daily to maintain your mental and emotional health?
Reading the word and spending time with God, getting in that quiet place, and just the daily affirmations, just beginning to encourage yourself. David said he encouraged himself daily. So I'm a very firm believer. You have to encourage yourself. I don't look
Mhm.
for people to encourage me. I do have people that call me. I do have people that pour into me. Like I said, I have an awesome leader. But at some point, we have to take accountability, and we have to get to a point that if don't nobody else do it, we have to just pour into ourselves positive vibes. You ever hear just positive vibe only? Positive
Mhm.
vibe only. Daily, I don't like to listen to drama all day long. I don't want to listen to problems all day long, because that gets into you and it contaminates you. And next thing you know, you're, "Oh, I don't feel like doing nothing today." It drains you. You're
Y
physically
Mhm.
drained. It's
Mhm.
draining the life out of you. And so I choose not to let people or let that drain me anymore. I choose just to be the best version of me, that God will want me to be. And I want to do purpose. What is God purpose for my life? So on a daily basis, like I said, I pray God, and I ask God to order my steps. That's where I want to
Mhm.
get. Order my, what do you want me to do? What is it
Mhm.
that you want me to say? Like today, I didn't know what I was going to say. What I'm going to say, he said, talk about you are enough. Talk about the things that you struggle with, because nobody really wants to talk about the deep. This is very rare. I talk about this and I preach a
Mhm.
lot. And this is, I haven't shared this, so many years. It's been a while. It's something I
Well,
don't really talk about.
I thank you for being vulnerable. I thank you for sharing with the listeners today. Let's talk about, you said you have a jailhouse ministry. Let's talk about that. How did that get started?
It got started in 2016. I was um, at home one day, and I heard the Lord begin to speak to me, and He said, because there was so many young kids, I was in a bad neighborhood living in at that time, and I was kind of like the little neighborhood mom. I would minister to the kids. They were going to jail, and I'd be like, don't tote the guns. Guns gonna do two things: you're going to end up in jail, or you're going to end up dead. I would just talk to them like that. And I noticed it didn't have a lot of people doing that. It didn't have a lot of people reaching out. They were more so saying they're bad, this young generation was lost, but who's talking to the young generation? Who's
Mhm.
actually taking time to reach out to them? The ones that were in jail, you have people going to the jail, but back then, my mind wasn't to go to the jail. It was to deal with people that were already in jail and the people before they go to jail. They didn't have nobody going to court cases. So I would go to the court cases and I would be their support system, and when they did serious crimes, I would let them know, God still loves you, but some of this stuff you're gonna have to go to jail, and
Mhm.
some of the parents wouldn't be, oh, why would you tell them that? No, you need to tell them the reality. God has mercy, but sometimes, and I had to do that with my own kids. You might not serve that much time, right? But you might have to serve some time. God
Mhm.
is a merciful God, but I'm not God. I can't just say, everything gonna be white. I've seen cases where I've coached people where they were innocent, and I've seen where they would drop the charges. But when I started the jailhouse ministry, I almost ended it. 3 days after I started it, I had a prayer line. It's called Warriors in Christ Jailhouse Ministry, which I'm getting ready to launch and getting ready to restart it all over again. Um, my 6-year-old son at the time went to jail. They had the helicopters looking for him, Hammond police looking for him, Ponchatoula police looking for him, and it was bad. The helicopters. I was like, y'all, who they looking for? And when they said my son, I just almost fainted. I'm
Yeah.
like, God, I know you told me to jailhouse ministry, but you didn't tell me I was gonna have to go through this. And so I went
Right.
to talk to the police officer, and it was like, yeah, we're looking for this young guy, and we're gonna shoot on sight. I said, what? So I never told this story publicly. When they caught him, they beat him almost to death. His eyes were closed shut. The dog tore holes in his legs. Um, he was knocked unconscious. He was in the hospital. And I found it was a prophet. It was on Facebook. I won't disclose his name. And I texted him and I said, I don't know if my son is dead or alive or if the police got him. I'm not worried about him going to jail. Just let him be alive. And it was at that moment that he said he's in a red brick building. I was like, a red brick building, but it was Hammond jail at the time. And
Mm.
they had called me and they told me when I saw his face with red blood shots, I just cried. And I'm almost emotional now. This is so many years ago, but it's still just the thought of it. And I said, I got to help these young kids not to go this route. If I could just reach one, I may can't reach them all, but if I could just reach this young generation to let them know that you are loved, to let them know that I know a lot of them were spacing out on Mojo. A lot of them were popping pills. They were dying off the pills. And I was trying to reach to them to let them know there's another way. And because the Bible says, how can they hear without a preacher? And how can a
Mhm.
preacher go unless they've been sent? It does not mean I have to always be in front of the podium. I don't always
Mhm.
have to be inside the building. I realized that I could, reach some of this young generation. The prayer call was also with the jailhouse prayer call. It at one time I had got up to 50 callers. They were jumping on that from North Carolina, Chicago. They were calling New York. They were calling all over. And I realized, wait a minute, this thing could get big. I was able to reach a broader people. And I'm gonna start going live too. I'll build a page or I'll be able to go live off of it to be able to talk because you got some women, like I met one lady, her son got sentenced to life. I was like, oh my God. So I have to deal with not just the prisoners, but the families as well. And that's what I saw in need of because I wasn't just dealing with just the prisoner, who's going to deal with the mothers? Because at the end of the day, that's still their child behind bars. And let me tell
Right.
you something, it's easy when it ain't your child. But I tell you, the
Mm.
level of compassion when it's your close family member, it's going to hit different. I
Yeah.
promise you. I've seen so many people, oh, you do the crime, you do the time. But when it's their child, oh, oh, can you, pray? Oh. She was the same one that didn't have sympathy with nobody else. But when it's your loved one that you close to in jail, I'm telling you, it hits different
Oh
because
yeah.
so I was open to if it ain't my child, which the charges end up being dropped, praise God,
He's got.
through the jailhouse ministry, through the prayers, the pastors, my pastor, we prayed, and a good friend of mine, we were all touching and agreeing, but he still had to do a couple of years for one of
Mhm.
the charges. That was his. But through what he went through, I can't talk from that because I never been in jail, but I
Right.
can share the experience that he experienced. A lot of them deal with mental issues coming out of jail, and
Yeah.
nobody talks about it. Nobody, oh,
Mhm.
they just crazy, but we don't know what they went through behind closed doors,
Right.
behind them bars. So the jailhouse wasn't started for fame, like you said, or for likes, because I knew I was going to get a lot of adversity because people feel like, why should you be praying for people in jail? But there is a scripture, and the Bible said we are supposed to be praying for the ones
Mhm.
in prison. They
Mhm.
forget. So
Mhm.
we don't just get to say who we want to pray for and who we don't want to pray for. So
Right.
basically it started because I saw a need, never thought I was gonna have, and my son that died, my 22-year-old son, he was in jail. And we have to teach them how to pray. When they're inside, he started a prayer group in there. It's funny. I
Mm.
said, boy, you know how to pray when oh yeah, they preachers when they're in jail. They don't they don't get hey, but guess what? I'm laughing because they all just but they knew how to call on while they're in there. And that's what I want to
Yes,
see. They knew when they're in trouble. I'm telling you, they get really religious. But I'm not going to look at it as a negative point of view, right? I'm looking at it as a positive. At least they know who to call on.
exactly. Exactly. And you teach them how to pray. They may not seem like they listen, but they listen. They listen. They listen. So I want to ask you this question before we get off. And again, thank you for being here today. This has been an
I'm so
amazing
honored.
conversation. Um,
Thank you.
when you look in the mirror, considering everything that you've overcome or overcame, what do you see or who do you see? Can you describe that person for us today?
I see a person that's overcome obstacles, someone that they said wasn't going to overcome. So I was just supposed to be mentally just damaged of all the trauma. That's just a snippet. There's a small clip of the trauma that I faced. But through the grace of God, I'm a stronger. It's made me wiser than I've ever been before in life. I chose to take the bad and the good and turn me to who I am today. I didn't stay in that place. So I would say I'm victory. I became victorious through it all. So I look like a woman that doesn't look like what she's been through, that I don't have to wear pain. I'm getting ready to, I haven't wrote it down, but I'll tell you the title of a book. It's called Camouflaging the Pain. And so
Mm,
I've camouflaged pain so that I wore it. I spoke, I preached, I did prayer conferences, and I just covered it all up. But you're looking at a woman today that is healed and not hiding behind the trauma that I've been through. And that it's okay to talk about it. Because if my story can help reach somebody else, then guess what? My life is an open book. I have nothing to hide. It does more damage for me hiding what I've been through than to try to keep suppressing it. So I have to let it out. So I would say I'm a conqueror. You're looking at a conquered woman today.
absolutely. I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Again, thank you for being here. You guys have been listening to another episode of Kicking It with KeKe. Before we actually get off, Pastor Yvonne, speak to someone who may be listening right now that feel like they're not enough. What words of inspiration or motivation can you share with them today?
Okay. I just want to tell you two things. The first thing for my mothers that have abuse with their children or making feel like that you made past mistakes. Do not let them define your future. Do not let them keep throwing the things that you did or didn't do. Because a lot of people want to blame guilt because it makes them feel better that they don't have to put the guilt on them. So they try to bring it on you. Don't let that. Don't let anybody bring guilt on you because you're above that. You're rising above that in this season in the hour. It's imperative that you don't let people hold you to your past mistakes or your past failures. You can't stay in that place. That's a very bad place to be in. That's where depression sits in. So you cannot stay in that place. You got to just move past for that. And then know that you are enough. Know that God has created you, that you're fearfully, wonderfully, and beautifully made, that you can be anybody you want to be. You can have anything you want to be. Stop saying you can't. You can have whatever you put and set your mind to. Just put it into work. Get around people that's going to be positive. They can help push you into your next destiny. And anybody that does not want to go with you in this season hour, you have to know I'm okay with it. If they fall off, then let them fall off. It's okay because who's truly meant to be with you or who's truly meant to be in your life, they're not going to fall off. They're your solid ones and they're not going nowhere. And God definitely will let you know. So just be encouraged. Keep God the center, the head of your life, and you'll never go wrong.
Absolutely. With that being said, I am back with a new episode on Thursdays on all streaming platforms. You can also watch the full episode on my YouTube channel, Kicking It with KeKe Media. Until next time, Purple Hug.